So this twisting, as the system kind of moves above us, is happening at intervals. The moon perhaps has them more often, and that's what we see as this monthly cycle. The sun has them less often, but is more significant. Now, something that is a useful bit of evidence on the eclipse for someone who's questioning whether we live on a globe or not, is that there's a truism about shadowing, and that is that if you put a light behind an object, the shadow will always be at least the size of the object, if not bigger, depending on the distance between the light source, right?
Yeah. So shadow can never be smaller than an
yeah,
object.
Correct. So in the case of the sun, the moon coming in front of the sun, then the shadow, even if they were right close together, would have to be at least 2,000 miles across. But because of the distances involved, it should really be like this big wedge of darkness that comes out and covers the entirety of the Earth. But what we find is that it's like sometimes just a very small 70-mile penumbra, thank you. You know, which is the center point, and then there's sort of less for about a few hundred miles or maybe 1,000 miles either side. But it really should be including the entirety of the sun for everybody on Earth, given the distances we're told that they are 400 times further away, 400 times different in size. It should be a perfect match to black everything out. So that's what I think. That's a theory of what that they are. Sometimes when you look at the partial moon closely, it feels almost as like there's a door, like it's a furnace, and like a door has opened through the cycle, and then that door gets to close again. Each month. And if you think about the connection between the moon, the feminine, and so on, and the natural cycle of the fertility, then there is this sort of opening and closing process that happens.
What is the moon?
The moon, I believe, is
just to say that there isn't really consensus among collectors about what the moon is.
Yeah. Can I just add in before that comes up? Is I've actually seen myself, and we were talking about it. Some people have seen a star, right, where the shadow of the moon is, where it should be space or solid black because it's a shadow on a planet. You can actually see the star right through it. And that means that it's in fact not actually there, it's translucent.
It actually does look translucent.
I have that sort of science has never seen it in at least 10 or 12 hours before and after the moon. We've never recorded or never observed anything. So that it's an entity or a light or a projection of a light, because I think the way the lighting system works is far more complex than just simply saying there's one thing up there, we're all seeing the same thing that's in this one position in the sky. It's far more complicated than that. I might get into that a little bit on the electromagnetic side when we talk about that. But for me it's a light, and what we've observed scientifically is that the shadow of the moon is warmer than the direct moonlight itself. So we believe that the moon is like a cold light, and I suggest to people that if you think about the pH scale, then the sun would be pH 7 and the moon would be -7. It would be the complete and polar opposite. It's a cold, putrefying light, and it has certain benefits to everything on Earth, and the sun is similar, but it's a hot and healing light.